Hey, y'all. Y'all having a good night? That is so overwhelming. It is really overwhelming to see yourself. You know, I wake up, I live every day. I put one foot in front of the other, and I don't really pay attention to all of that. So I am so full. So visibility. Thank you, baby. What does that mean? Webster's tells us, thank you, one that can be seen, perceptible to the eye, apparent, manifest, obvious, being constantly or frequently in public view, conspicuous. From the moment that I could comprehend thought, outside forces threatened to attack and conspired to make sure that I would shrink into invisibility. By 5 years old, my family had placed me with a counselor who I would visit every Wednesday after kindergarten because they were afraid of my unbridled, effeminate behavior. This was questioning me into invisibility, or the daily torture in elementary school at the hands of our society's youngest of offenders was meant to bully me into invisibility. The hateful abomination rhetoric from my Pentecostal church upbringing was meant to shame me into invisibility. Then came the sexual abuse at the hands of the family man, brought in to teach me manhood, abuse me into invisibility. And this was all before I was 8 years old. My teenage years, the 80s, brought a plague that was killing many of my friends and branded as being the punishment for my abominable life choice. This was meant to scare me into invisibility. Or being almost kicked out of drama school because the encoded homophobic narrative was that my voice was too high for the American stage and I would never work. Humiliate me into invisibility. No, ma'am, indeed. Entering the business of show and discovering quite quickly that while we in show business masquerade as an industry of inclusion, many of us are the worst culprits of enforcing the invisibility movement. When signing my pop music industry deal in the 90s, I was told not to speak at all in public because people will know. I literally lost my ability to speak or sing. My vocal cords literally could not phonate for almost a year. The effort and the physical pain with which it took me to utter sound almost took me out of here. Almost silenced me into invisibility. I could be here all day. But I tell you these things because after many decades of therapy, which helps me to practice evolved consciousness on a daily basis, I understand how important it is to be vigilantly visible. Our very existence depends on it. On November 8th, 2016 at 7:45, when I was watching the returns of the election at the Jacob Javits Center with my now husband, Adam Graham Porter Smith, I began to weep. I saw the returns and something inside me knew that the numbers weren't adding up. I know we're 3 hours behind the closing times of the more democratic states out west, but I know that all the polls in the CNN and MSNBCs and the pundits have said, I know what they've said. I had been forcing myself to be hopeful for 18 months, hopeful as I watched our side act as if the now president-elect was a joke, dismissing him as a silly reality television show host. I watched as the now president-elect snatched the nomination right from under the noses of his own party by vomiting hateful, racist, misogynistic, homophobic, xenophobic rhetoric intended to divide a nation and create chaos. And as his popularity grew, our common response remained, he's insane. He can't never happen. This is America. Make America great again became the Hitler-esque mantra of the Republican Party. I was confused by the again part. Make America great again. That's code to me. Again is code for we have taken orders from this Negro in the White House for far too long, and that's done. The blatant obstructionist government of the last 8 years was finally paying off. Just stall everything the black man wants to do until we can get the control back. And since we can't get it back fairly, we'll steal it. But the game has gone too far. In that dead obstructionist space of 8 years, the collective hate of our reality TV society was simmering, waiting for the opportunity to bubble over. After the election, I read an article that was titled something like, "Oh my God, the veil has been lifted." What veil? See, we tried to ring the alarm. We tried to speak of this absence of imaginary veils by illuminating the little things. My black brothers and sisters even launched a movement in response to African American men and women being slaughtered in the streets by the police and getting off scot-free with a slap on the wrist, like back when America was great. We were told we were overreacting. We were told yet again that institutionalized racism was in our heads and we needed to get over it. The Black Lives Matter movement morphed into a reverse racism dialogue mocked with the response, "All lives matter, you guys." This kept us blind to the reality that our country still has massive work to do. We've come a long way, but as you can see, both sides of the aisle have a long way to go. We must stay active. We must stay woke. And that starts with visibility first. It starts with the little things. For 2 years, when I lived on the Lower East Side, I would enter a full elevator in my building and say, "Hello, everybody, how are you?" My kindness was ignored and dismissed by the insular culture of the Hasidic community, as if I were invisible. They treated me like I owed them money or some shit. Damn, when I walk into any elevator anywhere in this country, I have to force Republicans and Democrats alike to engage by just repeating, "Hello, hello, hello, hello. Does anybody hear me speaking in this elevator?" It starts with the little things. Visibility first. I sat on the board of a gay organization for 6 years whose sole purpose was the fight for marriage equality. As soon as that goal was achieved, and our focus pivoted towards transgender rights, all of the funding that came from predominantly white, affluent gay men dried up completely. And after 25 years of serving the community, the organization was forced to fold. It starts with the little things, and visibility is first. The evangelical right, who masquerade as loving Christians but will endorse a candidate whose most vocal supporters are literally the KKK. Make America great again, my ass. It's the little things. Visibility first. The slashing of government funds for public education that has left wide swaths of our invisible electorate undereducated, and then overloading our brains with alternative facts and claims of fake news, so much so that they don't even know the fundamental fact that the Affordable Care Act medical insurance that they have come to rely on is the same Republican-branded Obamacare that they were swirled into voting against. But like my first fairy god gay told me long time ago, before he crossed over to the other side, remember to live. Hold on to the historical strides we've made as a nation and pass that down to the next generation. Teach them that the rights they were born into were because of people who came before them, the ones whose shoulders we stand on, who fought and died for these strides before they were even a glimmer in their parents' eye. You see, they thought they were entitled to some rights. They weren't here for the fight. They didn't know. Now they know. Remember to live and reach out and engage the 46% of our apathetic electorate who feel they're invisible and their voices don't matter and therefore opt out of the democratic process. Remember to live and tell our children the truth, that they're not entitled to anything, that you don't get a trophy just for showing up. And even when you make yourself visible by focusing and working hard and you're the best, you still may lose. But yet we must get up every day and remember to live and not to ever, ever, ever normalize this disgrace of an administration with a president who lies every time he opens up his mouth to speak and uses every chance he gets to try to discredit and dismantle democracy as we know it. Get woke, stay woke, get visible, remember to live. My favorite Bible verse is 1 Timothy 1:7, and it reads, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." And just so we're clear, what I mean by that is, and what I'm saying to this administration is, I lived through AIDS. I don't give a fuck about Trump. We are not afraid. Remember to live and take a moment to mourn the fact that the reality of life is that it's ever evolving. And until we can figure out how to love one another unconditionally, no one wins. Freedom has always come at a cost, and evidently it always will. However, freedom need not come at the expense of another person's humanity. If we want to be free, we must be prepared to love and fight for it till the end of our days. Mourn this fact. Mourn this fact and weep for the night, but know that joy will and must come in the morning. Visibility first, visibility foremost, visibility always. And for this boy who spent his whole life feeling invisible, how profound it is for me to know that my living has not been in vain. It is only when we can be visible, it is only when one can be visible to themselves that they can share that visibility and empower others. And I vow to wear this visibility like a badge of honor with the hope of transforming hearts and minds for the rest of my days. Thank you, HRC, for this extraordinary honor. I am humbled. I am empowered, as I hope you are. Stay vigilantly visible. Resist, resist, resist. God bless you all. And God bless America.